We are live, coming here with a brand new Stir the Pod podcast show. I'm your host, Trevor, and tonight we are joined by Alex. Alex, how you doing tonight?
Yo, yo, yo.
And it's just us, the two-man crew. I feel like the OGs, the people who founded this, it's not like we have any other co-hosts or anything like that. They're very locked up and can't hang and can't do a podcast anymore. So,
Yep.
the OGs, what else is new? Back at it again. And we are here for the first time ever doing an old school little throwback Friday season recap of Rivals 3. And before we get into it, like the reason why we're doing a recap of Rivals season 3 is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, challenge historian, this is the anniversary, the 7-year anniversary of when Rivals 3 started.
Yeah, so we knew
Premiered.
we knew we were gonna do a live pod tonight, and we put out a poll for a few different topics, and that's our apologies because we chose none of them. Because after we put out the poll, we saw a tweet with basically the fact that today, like you said, was the 7-year anniversary from when Rivals 3 started, the premiere of Rivals 3. And so we figured it would be a good time to kind of try something new, do a full season recap. We were already thinking about doing like a Rivals 3 premiere recap or a reunion recap. So we figured because it's the anniversary, let's just kind of dive right into the full season of Rivals 3.
Yeah. And this season, Rivals 3, like, I mean, there are so many moments from this episode. I think, there's a great story that we'll get into at the end of how the season ended for us. I think this was a huge bonding moment between us and the challenge that a lot of people don't know about. But we'll get into that. So the question is, Alex, we have no agenda. We have no idea what route we're going with this. Should we start? I always say, should we start in the beginning, but should we actually start at the end?
Yeah. So I've been wondering how we kind of tackle the split decision. Because when we think about it, when any challenge fan thinks about Rivals 3, they're going to think about the split decision. We're watching the reunion right now. Sarah and Johnny are just already fighting 3 minutes in. You're going to think about the split decision. So do we just do it now, or what do you think?
I think we just dive right in for that. Like, I think we have to. We have to address the elephant in the room. I believe that move right there changed the course of the challenge forever. It was one of those moves, like, you see like Steph Curry in the NBA now, how he completely changed the game, the three-point shot and everything like that. This move by Bananas completely changed the game. I believe personally, if Bananas is if he is not in the finals during this game, that twist doesn't happen.
I think that's probably fair.
I don't think
the twist was made for him.
I think it was like they were like, we always joke about productions making shit up on the spot. I think this is a perfect example of they're like, you know what? Let's just kind of throw the idea out there to, at the end. And I think Bananas might, I think if he finished third, he probably would have taken the money. But let's get in about the twist. Did you like the twist?
I loved it.
I loved it too.
I've been on record as saying not only is Bananas taking the money and run, not only is it the best twist in challenge history, not only is it the best twist in reality TV history, I think it's one of the greatest moments of mankind.
Jesus Christ.
It was just, when it happened, it was fucking huge.
Yes.
It was never before seen. It was the biggest guy in the show doing it against the one person that really had something to hang over him from the what was it, X's2?
Yes.
From the X's2 season. And so he got back at her in a way that was never before seen, taking all the money on top of a mountain. Like the scenery of it all was awesome. The fact that the two other teams, including his own cousin, split the money, just emphasizing the fact that he was stealing it all for himself. He gives a big ass speech, which he's done more seasons since he did before then, I think, officially now. Like, it's just, when I think about Rivals 3, obviously your mind goes to the split decision. And when my mind goes to the split decision, it's just incredible. It's just so amazing how it all came together. I love it. That's why we watch the challenge.
Yeah.
Shit like that.
And I think, like, in something I would kind of want to get into with the whole Battle of the X's thing, and like, I can see both sides of why people were pissed. Like, I am for Bananas in this situation because at the end of the day, it's a game. Let's just be real. Like, Bananas doesn't talk to Sarah outside the game. It didn't matter, blah, 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 all this other stuff. With her complaining that we were best friends, you were gaslighting me the entire season, Bananas didn't know about the twist. So, like, you can't throw that argument at Bananas. He had no idea that was coming.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want to go even further back to Exodus 2 and what Sarah did. Personally, though, I don't think what Sarah did is even close to what Bananas did. Because I think, and Devin made it the point in the reunion, they weren't on the same team.
No, in Rivals 3.
No, I'm saying in Exodus 2.
Oh, sorry.
When Bananas did when Sarah threw Bananas in. Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely agree. If you were working together, if we were on separate sides of the table, like, we're an alliance, you should be on the same team. I get that. But regardless, there will be scenarios. The way she did it was very shady. I'll say that.
But
where she could have thrown in another team. Completely understand. But what I'm saying is, when Bananas is arguing, saying it's the same move, it is not the same move. They're literally partners.
Yes, but I think the challenge is a game where everything is changing, and when you get to the final and TJ says there's a game within a game, there's no longer teams.
So you think it goes free agents essentially?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of the twist was that you're we're a team, but I can beat you and win this many points. So, like, I think the challenge is a game built like that, where teams are always changing, formations are always changing. And so Bananas just kind of played with the rules that TJ was giving it.
Yeah, essentially, as soon as the rules change, he started a different game.
Yeah.
And I think the moment in the reunion show that Johnny brought up was, I didn't want the ball in your court. And that's fair. Like essentially, like, yeah, I get that. I just think, one, it takes a lot of balls to do that. Like, there's only a certain amount of people that can do that move. The way he did it, too, with the whole speech we were talking on the mountain, good God, like, he was just made for television.
It was awesome. It was awesome. It was a great way to end the season.
Yeah, in it, and I think, like, I kind of brought up earlier, the whole Steph Curry analysis, like, it did change the game forever. Without that move Bananas did, Ashley would not be a millionaire. And that's just a fact.
Yeah.
Let me go this route with you. If Bananas, if he doesn't make the finals in Rivals 3, does Ashley even have the chance to take the money and run?
Probably not.
I don't think
they think to
do it.
Invent the twist just for Ashley. I think
agree.
They thought to do it for Bananas. And he made good on it.
Yeah.
Made it TV worthy and good enough to bring back.
Yeah. It's just,
and they probably will bring it back again in a few seasons.
They should. I mean, it's one of those twists where, we haven't seen. God, I would do a lot of things for Rivals 4. I love, and we'll get into it, but Rivals is a great, like, when you go X's, when you go Rivals, you keep it simple, like, so good. So good.
Yeah, two people who fucking hate each other, put them together, see what happens.
God, hell, it might be me and Andy Burge decision for Rivals 4.
All right, so I think we circle back to Bananas and Sarah.
Yeah, at the end.
The split decision.
Yep.
And let's just let me ask you this. When you think of Rivals 3, and your answer cannot be anything related to the split decision, Bananas, Sarah, what do you think of? What comes to mind?
Of Rivals 3 without this? God, well.
Yes.
I also think about how much Sarah and Bananas dominated this game. I thought you said the split decision.
Okay. Fair
enough.
I'm
not saying the split decision. You take
away. So just Bananas and Sarah as a team.
Oh, I think they dominated this season. Like, I don't think it was even close. It was one of those seasons where you kind of knew it was a must win for Bananas, I think.
I agree. I think we should talk about that. I think we should talk about the cast. You start and it's the odds on favorite when you find out who all the teammates are Banana and Sarah.
Yes,
they're
absolutely
the number one team. But I think what kind of hurts the season overall is the fact that you had, I feel like, a lot of B teamers behind Bananas and Sarah, and some of them went home early. Like Leroy and Avery. You had Tony and Camilla got eliminated. We'll talk about them. Tony was kicking the trash can in her face and all of that. And then, but I feel like aside from that, you just have a lot of,
there was like, if you look at the cast list right now, I would say Bananas and Sarah top. You got the 1. The 2s would probably
it's a long second tier.
Yeah, long second tier. You would go to Vince and Jenna.
Yeah.
Which Vince, did one season before that. Jenna had earned her stripes by that point. And then I would probably say Wes and Nani.
Corey and Ashley.
Tony and Camilla, and then Leroy and Avery.
Yeah.
And then everybody else. Like, but God, I just think back to the season, and I wish it had a little stronger cast. It definitely is not the best cast we've ever had by any means, but like, it's definitely a fun cast that they had. Like, it is a bunch of misfits. Like, besides the
cast.
top, yeah, I think
it's weird now looking at it because like I agree that the cast overall is not great, but like,
well, think about this. You look at this,
Devin and Cheyenne. Devin is now a challenge champion.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Rookie year, first season.
Yeah.
Corey and Ashley, rookie season, right?
For Ashley, yes. Corey was on Bloodlines, but they're both really new to the challenge. You have Jamie and Kellyanne. Jamie on Rivals 3 was the reigning champion.
Yeah,
because he won Bloodlines.
Yeah, I forgot Bloodlines was before.
And you have Nelson and Amanda, who, you know, this was their rookie season. They come on as a replacement, and they both go on and do several seasons. They made finals, and so like, it's kind of a weird crossing point because you have a lot of, like we said, B teams, but some of the C teams go on to have later careers that kind of bump them up, but at the time they just weren't, you know, teams that were popping up.
I think it's a really fun middle pack team. Like, yeah, you have the Bananas,
like you said,
but it's just like the rest are just like, you could make, and I wish we would have done a power rankings before the season started, because I have no idea how we would, like, you would know the top 3, but from 4 down, like, it is all over the place. Like,
well, that's a good point. So this was 2 to 3 years before Stir the Pod before BMFE became a thing. So we weren't, you know, I mean, obviously, you know,
we still were watching,
texting, calling about the season all the time, but like,
FaceTiming.
We didn't have a podcast. But like, looking at the cast, think about the cast right now, all those teams we just mentioned, and just remove Bananas and Sarah. Let's say they weren't a team. That's let me go competitive.
If you take Bananas and Sarah out of this game, who wins and why? Because now it's the big question. Like, Bananas doesn't have Vince, or Vince isn't, you know,
he's not protected by his cousin.
Correct.
So he falls down in the rankings a decent amount.
Who wins?
I mean, I would say there's a good shot Wes and Nani win.
Exactly.
Wes was very skinny Wes at this point, but
I personally think healthy Avery and Leroy would be a very good team.
They would be
healthy Leroy, not garbage truck, garbage man.
That's a big if, and you know, Avery's bad.
God, she sounds kind of bad. I mean, like I said, I think this cast list is very good. Or not very good, excuse me. Very, like, the top is very good, and then it's just like, it's a fun misfits like stretch.
Yeah, and I think it kind of speaks to,
like, I look at this list, and the worst team you see on here is Brandon and
There's
Brianna.
Some bad teams.
But Brandon and Brianna were kind of smirk.
I mean,
that's when Brandon went home
because see you never.
Yeah, exactly. Like, good moments from that. I mean, Thomas and Simone, when Thomas was like about to, and I want to bring up too, this is by far, you know, one of my favorite episodes of the year is episode 1. And when they do the stuff, I mean, they did the skydiving in this one. You had Bananas, the first in the house. He claims the bed. This is a really good first episode.
Oh, the first episode's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best. And I think one thing I missed from the challenge that I feel like they haven't done in a while is where Tej like sits. It's literally a 1-by-1 of all the teams. So it's like I know Bananas was last, but it was like, Leroy, you've messed around with a lot of women in this house, blah 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 blah. But Avery stuck out the most because your DMs on Twitter or whatever. And like, I love that stuff. You know, I love that. I love the intros, but like, obviously we didn't have it that season, but you know, bring that stuff.
It was
back.
I feel like one of the last times they ever did it. And let me ask you this too. I feel like another thing we haven't mentioned is the fact that it was kind of a new format, but kind of the same, because it was the first time we had a rival season where it was opposite sexes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before, you know, it was Wes and CT, Bananas and Frank, the same sex. But now we have it. It's kind of like a weird thing because I feel like some of the teams, like Are You the One, were almost like exes. Like Brandon and Brianna were exes, but it's a rival season. but I feel like that kind of just gave them more flexibility.
Was this the first Are You the One season?
No, it was
Like,
Exes 2 was.
Who was I'm trying to
Like John and Simone.
They were on that?
Jay and Jen were yeah, Exes 2 was the first Are You the One?
Oh yeah.
But Rivals 3 was the first one that did the cross gender rivalries, and I mean you could make the argument that they did that just to put Bananas and Sarah on the same team.
I think we should have more. Like I said, if they were to do a Rivals 4, they would need to do the same or different sexes again.
You think they would do that again?
Yeah, I think so. I think you could get. I mean,
I think,
okay.
You know why I think they should is because I feel like when you have guys on one side, girls on one side, it just shrinks the game in half.
Oh, absolutely. So there's no guys elimination.
Half the house.
And that's the other thing is like, and we always talk about how 90-minute episodes are just a joke and stuff like that. And you do 25 episodes of that. I mean, this only had 13 episodes.
That's a perfect fucking length. That's the perfect
final
length for a season.
So it had 15 episodes, including the reunion, because it's one elimination, but it's like, it's a guy and a girl going home.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's by far the best format. So let's kind of dive into that, the format of this game.
Skull twist.
Yeah, and before we get into Skull twist, like number of teams was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the format was the winning team voted in 2 teams, and the losing team automatically went in. The last place team, automatically went into elimination. So I think that's a easy format. You're pissing off 2 teams. It's not excessive where you're voting in like 10 teams or whatever.
Yeah.
Great format of that. And then the whole skull twist. That's where, I'm fine with it. I liked it. But I could see that pissing people off. But like my question for you would be, if you don't like the skull twist and you vote 2 teams in, how would you want to see one of them go in?
I almost want to see like a 3-way.
A 3-way skull?
Not just between Avery, but like a 3-way elimination. So like, for example, I think last place is we love last place being sent straight to elimination. Perfect. We're talking about that 7 years later after Rivals 3. So I think therein, if you want to do a skull twist where it's kind of like instead of 1 team, you have to pick 2 teams, I don't mind that. But instead of just having it be literally picking, things out of the hat, why not do like you could either do a 3-way or like I send 2 teams in because I won. Those 2 teams do like a little mini elimination. Whoever wins is safe, goes back to the stands. Mm-hmm. Whoever loses then has to play last place from the challenge, something like that. I mean, I feel like the luck part of it, drawing the skulls, is just a big like, TV thing. It's a good thing to cut the commercial to.
Yep.
Obviously, we saw Devin and Cheyenne pull the 9 or 10 white skulls in a row or whatever, but
I mean, look at that. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row.
It's just absurd, and they lost the first elimination. People
and I was gonna bring that up.
So I mean, I feel like picking 2 teams is an interesting twist, but I feel like they could have done it slightly better. Call me crazy.
So you kind of hinted at it. I mean, one thing people forget about the season was our 3rd place finishers, Devin and Cheyenne. They went home at episode. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page now, and I remember them going home. But the fact that they went home episode 2 and didn't come back to the game till episode 6, is that right?
It's kind of surprising, yeah.
There were 3 episodes in between, 3, 4, 5.
So didn't anybody go home episode 3?
It doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it. Episode 4.
Did anybody go home? Because now it's like 4 or 5. I think they did because you had. I think if I remember correctly, Brandon and Bree left like the end of 4 into 5, and then the elimination of Johnny and Jess was the end of 5. So like technically nobody went home 4, but you knew Brandon and Bree were going home by episode. So, God,
there's a pretty big gap there.
Insane to think about. And then that's when they started pulling all the skulls.
Yeah. that's when they went on the crazy run where basically, I mean, most of the time it was Bananas and Sarah, but whoever was in charge kind of threw Devin and Cheyenne in as the kind of other team.
Yep.
It was like, here's our main team that we're trying to get rid of. Throw them in.
Which you should. I mean, they went home episode 1. Why would you not? And they were Are You the One?
Yeah.
But
I think, should we do like a little team 1 by 1? Climb up the ladder?
Yeah. One thing I want to bring up before the 1 by 1, and I don't know if we talked about this. What did you think about the skydive in to meet the partners?
So remind me, it was the cast comes into the house, so they pick their bedrooms.
Yep. So they're all chilling. They're like, "Oh, I wonder what the format of this game is."
And then everybody goes up into the airplane, right?
Yes, and Nate doesn't jump. But everybody else does.
I like it.
I think it's a fun way.
It's a fun way to start the season.
Exactly.
I want to, you know what? I want to start the season like that on the first episode of the challenge, as opposed to what they've turned into now, where it's like they have the episode 0. You know, on Monday.
Yeah.
And then they have episode 1 on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't know what to recap. We don't know what they're all, we have to watch episode 0 just to know who the rookies are. I just like fucking throw them on an airplane, see who doesn't want to skydive. That's fun. Yeah. That's good old fashioned challenge.
So should we do the 1 by 1 of the teams?
Let's do a 1 by 1, and I feel like we should just go kind of
quick on some of these.
Last to first, if there's a team we want to spend more time on, and when we get to them, we just kind of say what we think of them on Rivals 3.
All right, Leroy Avery.
Leroy Avery. It's a what if. It's sad. Why were they rivals?
I think it was because Avery
was it a reunion? It was like an after show, I think.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Avery and Little Johnny dated, obviously.
Yeah.
They had a thing. And then Little Johnny broke up because Avery cheated on him.
Yes.
And then Leroy was boys with Little Johnny and kind of like...
It was an after show.
Yeah, and then was calling her out kind of thing.
Yes, because it was after X's 2.
Correct.
When they were on the same season. And I think they were on an after show, and Leroy, like you said, was basically sticking up for Johnny.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, that's a pretty weak rivalry.
I mean, and let's
Most
be real.
Of them are.
Let's be real. A lot of these rivalries or exes are very, very stretched out. But it's kind of smart.
Leroy and Avery, it's a good looking team. It's, if they're both healthy, I mean,
honestly,
like I said, it's a what if. If things happen differently, they could be a 3rd place team this season.
Call me crazy. Is this the most attractive team on the list? I think so. Who's more attractive?
I think it's either Leroy and Avery or Dario, Nicole, or Tony and Camilla.
No, I don't think so. I think Leroy and Avery.
It's a good looking team.
It's a very good looking
team.
All right, moving on. Brandon and Bree. I mean, Brandon sucks. I mean, he left because of his girlfriend, right? Like,
yes, he wanted to be back with his girlfriend, who I wish we could quickly look up a way to see how long they were dating after this season.
What's our guess?
After he left,
and we'll tweet this out tomorrow. My guess:
less than
Brandon and his girlfriend. 3 months? You're giving it that much?
I think he gets back. Let's walk through it. So I think Brandon gets back. The season's still going on.
Yes.
And his girlfriend's like, "Hey, why are you back?" And I think he's like, I think he says that he left on his own. He didn't get eliminated because he wouldn't have like the balls to lie about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he says he left on his own, but he doesn't say, "Oh, it was because of you." I think he just says like, the house was so toxic. These guys they just want fame and all this. And I think the girlfriend buys it. I think she buys it for a couple weeks. Couple more weeks go by. The season starts, and once the season starts to wrap up, and then she's like, "Hey, I'm hearing some things. Like people are saying that like you left because of me. Is that true?" And he's like, "Oh no, it was all these like bananas. Like these guys are just clowns. They want attention." And then she watches one episode and she's like, "This guy, I'm out of here."
So a little okay.
I would say 2.5 months over under.
I'd probably take the over now that you kind of talked me into the over. I would have taken 2 weeks, but that's a fair point.
I mean, Brandon and Verona, a terrible team, obviously, but in a weird way, he did leave his mark because we always have the, hope to see you never. When you watch the trailer, that's front and center, but just a bad team.
Yeah. All right, Little Johnny and Jess. This was a team that I wish would have performed better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they win the first elimination.
I'll say this. Little Johnny to me is, I'm not saying like the greatest performers of all time, but he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore of favorite people on the challenge of all time. Like him, maybe Tony's on that list. I mean, a few other people, but like Little Johnny is awesome. Like he's a guy where I wish he would have done 2-3 more seasons. Like,
and this was his last season.
Yeah, he only did 3 seasons.
Yeah.
People forget he beat Bananas up the mountain for agents. But Little Johnny, awesome person. Jess, the funny thing about Jess is I was always a fan of Jess. I know Andy hated Jess. Did you ever? What was your take on Jess? Like, I didn't mind her. I watched, what was it, Vegas, because they were both on
Portland.
I don't know why I said Leroy was Vegas. Portland with Jordan and
Naya,
which is a great real world season. Like, I think it's on Netflix now if you don't already have Paramount Plus, but like, great season to watch. God, somebody got kicked off too. What was her name? Who got kicked off? Anastasia. Yeah, right. Anastasia. Somebody watch that season. Maybe we'll do a recap of that because that is a great season. And Marlon.
And Marlon was on there too. It's a great challenge cast on Portland.
But it was a team that like I wanted them to do so much better. And it sucks we only got 3 episodes out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think 4 maybe.
4.
So Johnny and Jessica, just looking at the names, we talk about a lot of fake rivalries. I think this is one of the realer ones. This obviously goes back to their real world season, and even if
Johnny
you watch a couple episodes, they hate each other, and they've done a couple seasons together in the past, but like they legitimately do not like each other, and now they're teammates, and I think the whole theme of their team was like Johnny hates her more than she hates him, and like he's trying to lie to her and hype her up, and it was just never going to last. And they won the first one, and they were able to survive a little longer, but this team was never going to go anywhere.
No, absolutely not. There was just no chemistry with them at all.
None.
I think like there were so many lines where Johnny was just like, I can't believe I'm fucking doing this kind of thing. Like, this is terrible. All right, so next team, Thomas and Simone.
Just boring.
Yeah, just kind of the middle of the pack. They left.
Yeah, they left because Thomas's girlfriend or something, right?
Haley? Wasn't that her name? Did I just pull that out of my ass?
It was Haley, but I think
a different girl.
I think it was a different girl.
Wait, I don't remember them leaving.
They left. Yeah. What was the purple?
It
says quit.
Contestant withdrew. So he or she.
Thomas quit because then they flashed to him like talking on the phone with his girlfriend. It was very quick. I think it might have even saved Wes from an elimination or something.
See, I remember Thomas more from what was it called?
Skeletons?
No, Bloodlines. I was gonna say when Abe joined the game. Like that's the Tom, because he was messing around with Cara, and then that whole thing. But Simone was the one who, when they became rivals and stuff, picked up the shot glass and like threw it in his face, right?
That's why they're rivals.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. So I mean, another true rivalry where they both hate each other in that. All right, next one, Nelson and Amanda. Nelly T,
rookie coming in as an alternate with Amanda. I mean, I certainly didn't watch this Are You the One season.
No.
To know, their background when they were coming on.
Mikey the doctor, love to have you tonight.
Mikey. But I mean, I feel like when I think of Nelson and Amanda on Rivals 3, I think about it in a positive light because it was a good introduction.
Yes.
To see them come back or to see them start their challenge careers. They were firecrackers, especially Amanda. She was
Amanda
in everybody's
came in
face.
Hot in this
they
season.
Didn't give a shit. They came in halfway through. Did they beat? Who did they beat?
They beat in elimination.
Johnny and Jessica. Right?
No, they didn't win an elimination.
Did they not? Was it green?
Wasn't the win? Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, they beat Johnny and Jessica.
What
yeah,
was
sorry.
it?
There was the one Johnny did the plant one, right, where they put the
Nelson and Amanda lost to Jamie and Kellyanne. I know that.
All right, so it was. Wait for me, kind of smirk.
Oh, I think it was like a. I think it was a puzzle, maybe one of those pull the
challenge
rope.
doing the puzzles. That doesn't sound right. I don't know. We'll have to check the tapes on that because I think the first one Johnny and Jess one was like the plant one or what. It was like it was a bowl or whatever, and they had to like climb up, right?
It was a wall where you put your
legs
up.
And you were like back and you had to like put up.
That was against
Devin and
Cheyenne.
Yeah,
people forget that.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go. Oh God.
Tony and Camilla. Another like. The funny thing is about this team, like I'm looking back at it, how did they get DQ'd again?
So
I remember them getting DQ'd during the game, but not like in the actual. Well, the daily they got DQ'd, and then when they took someone else's piece by accident, I think it was Nate and Christina's piece. But why'd they go home?
They got sent home for good because of the night when Tony was kicking the trash can into Camilla's face, and he was cornering her against the wall. Because
Christ.
Before that, at some point in the season, I don't know if it was Tony. I'm sure he played a part in it, but there had been like a crazy night out at the bar. There had been a crazy night out at the bar that caused TJ to come in and say,
cut the
no
shit.
more of this. Anybody who acts up is done.
Yeah.
And so, a couple episodes later, Tony is fucking kicking the thing at Camilla, and that's just
so
they're gone.
Them as a whole is another team that's like, you take away the alcohol, they're solely focused. They're a good team.
They're a good team. They're talented.
Their biggest weakness is themselves.
Yeah,
they just beat themselves.
Fucking lunatics. And think about it. 2 seasons later, on Dirty 30, they're hooking up.
Mikey the Doctor just wrote. Remember, he was hooking on the bus.
These people are lunatics.
God, they were rivals, and then 2 seasons later,
Tony and Camilla. I feel like Tony and Camilla on Rivals 3 could be its own podcast.
Well, Tony and Camilla, like I felt like that was a couple that just needed to hook up with each other just at that moment and just clear the air. Because like they were rivals because of the time where basically in Bloodlines, Tony called Camilla's sister like a layup.
Yes.
And she freaked out. And it's like not what he's kind of he kind of said it, but not really.
And Tony was a rookie. He had no idea what he was doing.
Correct.
And they're just fucking they're like the same.
Yes.
One guy, one girl, but like they're the same personality, same temperament, all that. And just an amazing team to watch.
Just a firecracker. That team is a real firecracker. Awesome. All right, so the next team we got is Jamie and Kellyanne, friend of the program. Jamie sucks. I don't think anybody likes. Do you like him? No, Jamie sucks. Kellyanne, friend of the program, love her. Would love to have her back on the pod. People forget she literally ordered, what was it? Duck?
Oh, she was ordering duck prosciutto.
Duck prosciutto when we were talking with her. So just middle of the drive-through. All-time podcast. Go listen to it. One of our first ones, I think it was like 4 years ago. Like insane. We had no idea what we were doing.
It was right before. No, it was after this. It was.
No, I might have been before this. No,
because we hadn't started the podcast.
What was no, I thought she broke the news Wes was coming back. I think
he was going back for
something else. Dirty Third? No.
For War of the Worlds.
Okay, so maybe it was that. Yeah.
But Kellyanne wasn't, but she had talked to us.
And she broke the news on our pod. She broke it on our pod. She slipped that. Another team where, Jamie sucked. Kellyanne's cool. They're just like best way to describe them. They're just like a C+ team, B- C+.
Yeah, I mean,
they're just there.
we're looking at the list of teams right now, and when I think Jamie and Kellyanne, I think middle of the road, and they're literally exactly middle of the entire group. And I think they're forgetful. Just, I mean, we said, we love Kellyanne, but their performance on Rivals 3 is just forgettable. It's easy to forget them. They didn't do a lot.
This wasn't this, right?
No, that was Bloodlines.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right, next team we got is Corey and Ashley. Another firecracker team, pretty young in the game still. Like we said, Corey's second season, Ashley's first season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, correct. Also, like first episode, Ashley hooking up with Jamie in the bathroom when everybody was watching and stuff like that. Like Ashley just crazy as can be. This rivalry stemmed from Real World as well.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think?
So I feel like now that we've gotten through about half the teams, we're getting to a point where obviously all these teams went further in the season. They've all been together for so long. And so you think about how kind of this season played out.
Mm-hmm.
And Corey and Ashley got caught up with Wes and Nani. And Dario and Nicole kind of exposed them. We'll get to that in a little bit. But Corey and Ashley, I feel like 10 episodes, or maybe not 10 because they're shorter seasons, but like 7 episodes in, they were sitting pretty.
Yeah.
They were a good team. They were connected. They had a lot of, alliances around the house. Bananas kind of said they had his back. Wes said he had his back. Dario had his back. And eventually he just kind of overplayed his hand, I feel like. He made too many promises. And, but I mean, what's got them sent home is them losing the elimination to Nate and Christina, which was undoubtedly an upset. Nate and Christina, a huge underdog in that matchup, and they beat them. So it was just kind of a classic, like, Corey outcome, I feel like. You're sitting good and you lose to a team that you shouldn't lose to.
If this season happened, exact same cast list, 3 years later, 3 seasons later, how much higher do you think they would have finished? Or lower?
I think they make the final.
Really?
I don't think they win.
Who do you think they replace? Devin and Cheyenne?
Yes.
Okay. It's an interesting team, very young, which kind of leads into our next team, Nate and Christina. Like, God, I don't know how that team made it that far.
That's like the 9 seed making it to the Elite 8.
Like, I'm looking at Nate and Christina, and the fact that they didn't see an elimination until episode 7, where they won. No, they won the daily. They didn't see an elimination to episode 10. Like,
that's wild.
Nate didn't jump off the fucking plane. He should have been the first one in the elimination. Mm-hmm. Like, insane.
But they beat Corey and Ashley.
Yeah.
And then they lose to Wes and Nani. Mm-hmm. And I think they got kind of helped by the fact that Devin and Cheyenne were around the whole time.
Correct.
Because all the other teams looked at Nate and Christina and Devin and Cheyenne and said they're both layups.
Yeah.
It's like, we just want to keep one of them around. They ended up keeping both of them around for a long time. And Nate and Christina were never going to win a final, never going to win anything physical. And
that's something about this game.
They took up space.
And even in X's too, that I feel like we don't really see that often anymore, is just trying to, like, you are literally trying to drag a layup to the finals.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we don't see that often anymore. Mikey the Doctor writes, who's more of a layup, Team Nate and Christina or Jenna and Jay? I think you have to say Jenna and Jay, because they literally went to the finals, and that's the only reason why. Right? And Jay was a bitch who didn't fucking drink his soda or whatever it was.
I mean,
I understand. I personally, I think Nate and Christina, God, this is a classic scene. Nate and Christina are an easier team. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. But Jay and Jenna they made the finals. Like, Nate and Christina were still 3 episodes away from making the finals.
Jay and Jenna probably have the better case, because in that season, Wes literally brought them along and said, I think he said, they're my insurance policy.
Yeah.
I brought them along this long so that if I need to go in an elimination, I can go against those clowns.
Yeah.
So But the only thing I'm hesitant on is that Jenna actually became a good challenger.
Yeah, I know, but still, at the same time, it's Jesus Christ. At the same time, like they didn't make the final. Nate and Christina. Yeah, so like you got to go
Yeah,
to a
probably.
team that actually made the final.
Yeah.
And didn't see an elimination. Right? King Cash writes, "Is it crazy to think Jenna as a layup?" I agree. The thing about Jenna being a layup, correct me if I'm wrong, that was her first season though, right?
Yes.
So first season, Jay, God, this is tough. Like I'm not a huge fan of this, but I think like the fact that they made the final, they didn't see an elimination, they skated by the entire season and had protection. I mean, Nate and Christina didn't really have protection by anybody.
That's true. They kind of floated. They
kind of were like off on their own.
Bananas
and like
was
I said,
kind of protecting them, but like not really.
So that's why I'm still leaning. But yeah, I think it is a little crazy. I think it's in the moment. If you were to ask me, is it crazy to think Jenna and Jay as a layup back during Battle of the X's 2? I would say, what is it called? I would say, or is it crazy to think Jenna as a layup? Sorry. And I would say no, because I didn't know she would go on to make how many finals? 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So like in the time, no, now, yes. So Jay was trash, but Jenna puts them over, and didn't they beat Sarah and Jordan in trivia?
Yes, people forget that.
Yeah. Craziness. All right, so the next team we got, this is where we start. I mean, we're down to final five, yeah. And this is where, I feel like there's a decent gap between each team. So we got Wes and Nani. Thoughts?
I mean, I feel like Wes and Nani, when I think of them on Rivals 3, I think that Wes and Nani are the best of the second pack.
Yes.
I mean, like we talked about, it's Bananas and Sarah and kind of everybody else. And I feel like they were the top of that. It's another one of the stretch rivalries. I mean, Bananas and Nani had been on kind of opposite ends of the fence. I wouldn't necessarily consider them rivals at the time. It was one of those like kind of feel like smirky rivals where it's like, oh, I hate you, but they kind of like each other. They had done so many seasons together.
Yeah, it's someone you just haven't worked with ever, and you're just on opposite sides, but you've never really pissed them off, or they've never really pissed you off.
Because Nani is kind of always riding with Bananas, and that's opposite of Wes usually. And so, when I think of them on the season, not a lot comes to mind, because I feel like Wes, it was kind of a down season for him, and Nani, it was just another season for Nani. Correct. She had a good competitor, and she's not going to win. She's never going to win.
Yeah, it's one. Yeah, that team to me is like
it's the best of the second pack.
If Johnny didn't win, I wish they would have won.
Yeah. It would have been good to see them both win, see them win together.
Correct. If Wes would have won the season, is that his best win of all time?
Probably, because he did it with Nani.
That's what I'm saying. Like, or I mean, I still think, and I think I've gone on the record, X's 2, Wes played a perfect game.
Yes.
I think nobody could have played a better game than he did, and obviously the twist screwed him over.
Yes.
But he literally, it was, what's his name? Armando Galarraga, like for the Detroit Tigers. I feel like that was it. Mikey the Doctor writes, it's so crazy listening to all the OG teams compared to now with all these Gabos, Hueys, ASAP type of people. Yeah, I mean, I think the game has just, I mean, you also look at this cast list too. How many real world people there are versus Are You the One? And now we have like America's Got Talent. We got, MTV Cribs. Like, I feel like we got literally Real World is, they're the smallest number now. Like,
what we're doing tonight is we're diving back 7 years and
that's
11 challenge season.
And that's
a long time.
It's a long time, and they've literally changed.
It doesn't feel like a lot because we're talking about a lot of the same clowns that are still doing it.
Yeah.
But it is a lot. We've gone through several eras since then.
King Cash writes one more before we hop into Dario and Nicole. How much does Nani's legacy change if she beats Laurel in free agents? I mean, if she gets a ring,
gets a ring.
Yeah, I think it changes completely. Yeah, and I think if you beat Laurel, I mean, let's be real. If you beat Laurel in a final, I mean, any girl who can do that is pretty impressive. I'd say.
Yeah.
Like I think
she has a ring, and you can't take that away.
I think Laurel. I think we can all agree. Laurel's got to be up there on if not on the Mount Rushmore of female competitors of all time.
Yeah.
So like Free Agents was the game where, the final, you switch off with your partner each time. God, that would be a fun season to recap too. But I'm trying to think, how did Laurel get screwed?
In Free Agents?
She was climbing the mountain with Zach, and Zach's leg.
Yes.
Okay. But
Laurel still won.
Yeah, Laurel still won, but I think, God, to be honest, I wish Nany would have gotten a ring. She will never get a ring now.
Banana still talks about it. He says, like, if Nany would have, gone faster when they were on the same team on the leg of the race,
yeah,
she probably would have won. She lost by like 7 minutes or something.
So my question is, if Nany would have won that season, do we consider her like? Okay, regardless, right now, where do we consider Nany female athletes and challengers of all? Is she top 10?
No.
Like, but here's my. Let me go this route with you. When we say greatest of all time, are we only counting wins? Because I think like people like,
but
like what they bring to the show and stuff like that. I mean, you look at Leroy, for example. Do you think he's top 10 all time? I could argue he is top 10, and he's never won.
No.
You don't think he's top 10?
No. I think he's closer than Nany is, but that's just because he's better than Nany.
I think Nany's top 10.
I mean, there's a dozen male competitors better than Leroy.
I think, like, if
Leroy was better, he would have won. You're the inventor of Facebook.
This is a hot take. If I look at like challenge careers, like, and this isn't rings or anything like that. I know who's the better competitor. I'm not saying that. If we're looking at like challenge history and everything, I think Nany has a better challenge history than Sarah.
Sarah has 2 rings.
I know, and I understand that. Sarah is 10 times. She's the better athlete.
So what?
I'm just saying, like, I think there's a different argument about like challenge competitors all the time. Like, you don't have to have a ring to be in that category.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
So how's Nany?
I think Nany has more. I think Nany has more history than Sarah.
What does that mean?
So like she's been on more seasons. She's done stupider shit.
How does Anissa come in?
You could probably argue that case. I agree.
You're arguing Anissa is better than Sarah. Anissa's not better than my dog. And she's sleeping on the floor.
No, I don't think Anissa is a top 10 like athlete or anything.
Oh, God, no.
No, but like if you're looking at female of all time, she's probably up there. I'm not.
Anissa?
Yes, I'm not saying she is a top 10 performer. I'm not saying that at all. But when you've been on that many seasons,
it recording. Okay, we gotta get this on tape.
No, you can get this on tape. But when you've been on that many seasons and you've dedicated all, it's almost like the more seasons you put on, like the more you are to the challenge.
The more Anissa is coming on and getting 18th place and going to the buffet helps her status.
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No,
yes.
She's terrible.
Yes. I understand she's terrible. I know she's bad, but she's still a part of the challenge history.
Who gives a shit? She shouldn't be.
I'm not arguing that though, but I'm saying you should make the case for that.
You're standing up for Anissa.
I'm standing up.
That's like, are you okay?
God, Jesus Christ. I'm standing up for Anissa. I'm standing up
You should never.
I'm standing up for Nany.
You can stand up for Nany.
I think they've done a lot for the challenge whole. I'm not saying
What has Anissa done?
She's been on a lot of seasons.
Okay. Yes, a lot of seasons where every single time she's on, what are we saying? Get her off. We're saying
I have no comment to Anissa. I'm just saying she has been a vital part of the challenge.
How did we get to Anissa?
God, you brought it up.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm not saying they are like the GOAT athletes. Like if you're looking at male athletes, you have to say Bananas is the greatest like challenge performer of all time.
Probably, yeah.
Do you think he's the greatest athlete that's been on? No. I could argue
Anissa's the greatest athlete?
I'm talking Bananas right now.
Maybe rolling in the mud.
So my question is this. What about Landon? What about Darrell? Like
great athletes.
So they can be top 5. They could be better than Bananas, but Bananas is the greatest challenger of all time. There's 2 different things.
Okay. So Nany comes in where?
as like one of the greatest challengers of all time, not performers,
but she's
like,
not.
I think she's up there. Like, I think she's around 10. I don't think she's on the Mount Rushmore by any means.
She's top 20.
Probably. Oh my! I think she's closer than you think. If you can rattle off 9 girls that are better, like
better than Nany,
as like a whole. Like, I'm not saying performance. I'm not saying the performance. Like the chat, like you can, like I look
Laurel,
at like
Evelyn, Paula, Cara, Emily, Camilla.
That's 6.
Cam, Tori, Ashley.
I don't think Ashley. I could argue no Cam either.
I
think Cam's a better performer, absolutely. But when Cam's been on 3 seasons and damn near and won, has she won?
No. Nany hasn't won.
But she's also been on like 30. She's been on 30
seasons. That's a bad thing. That's a bad thing.
Yeah. God. All right. What's all this? Nany would have a ring if she didn't drink every night and smoke. Yeah, we
probably would.
Leroy not top 10. If we talking about prime, I don't know. Leroy in any elimination healthy, I think I could argue his case. Like a physical. He mopped the floor with
Leroy
Wes.
is not a top 10 competitor all time. He might be a top 10 elimination guy.
He's a top 10. I'm trying to think of the word.
He's not a top 10 challenger.
Who's your top 10?
If he was a top 10 challenger, he would have won one of the fucking 15 seasons he did.
So who's top 10?
For guys?
Yeah.
Bananas.
Evan.
Bananas, Evan, Kenny, CT, Wes, Derek, Brad,
Landon. Brad?
Probably Zach.
Oh my God, you're delusional. Zach over.
Zach's better than Leroy. Or you...
No, I would take Leroy.
You got to be yanking my dick off.
No, I would take Leroy over Zach.
Zach's won.
He won Battle of the Season.
Zach's literally won. Mark. Jordan. We didn't say Jordan. Yeah. That was disrespectful.
Yeah.
Darrell.
I'll say this. Well, that's the thing is like, when we talk about
how do we get here?
And when we talk about the GOATs, I think Darrell is a perfect example. Like, where would you put Darrell?
I think he's definitely 100% top 10.
Yeah. Okay.
You could make an argument top 5.
But like for me, like looking at Darrell in his prime, or I won't even say in his prime, as a challenger, I don't think he is top 5.
What does that mean?
Because he doesn't play the game. Like he's not in a lot of like you gotta like the more seasons you do, the more you earn your stripes and you do all this shit, whatever. Yeah. Like Banana, CT, like West, they're in their own category. I feel like those 3. Like those 3 are at the top.
They're still going.
They're still fucking going. Like, I think you can be like, I think Bananas is the greatest challenger of all time. Do I think he's the greatest athlete that's ever been on the show? No, absolutely not. I would take
athlete and challenger, 2 very
and that's things. What I've been saying this entire time. I think an athlete or whatever.
I know, but you said like athlete is different, and you followed it up with Anissa.
No, she's not.
Who is the opposite of an athlete?
But I would say she is a. All right, we're done.
Careful.
We're done. All right, moving on. What team are we on? Anissa is one of the. I can't even say it anymore. I might have said the wrong thing.
Watch it.
All right, Wes and Nany. We said. All right, Dario, Nicole.
Most underrated team of Rivals 3.
God, what a shit show of a team that was.
I'll just say it now. They made the most underrated move when they won in episode 10. And they basically had the option to side with Wes and Nany and Corey and Ashley, or side with Bananas and his cousin.
And who'd they go with?
They sided with Bananas and his cousin. And they said, fuck Corey. I know that Corey, which I feel like this is a very divisive topic. Some people think Dario did the wrong thing. I think he did the fucking smart thing. He basically called Corey in and said, who is your number one? Who are you protecting? Knowing that it was Wes.
Yeah.
Because Nany and Nicole are cousins.
Yep.
So they talk, they know. And Corey did not tell him the truth. And he wouldn't even say that you're my number 2 team, I think.
Yeah.
And so at that point, there's like 6 teams left or whatever. Dario's like, fuck this. Like, you're obviously going to save Wes and Nani any chance you get over me. So I'm out of here. I'm going to side with I'm going to side with Bananas and Vince, who obviously have each other's back before mine. But like, if I vote them in, they're going to win an elimination. They're going to beat Nate and Christina.
Yeah.
So like, fuck that. I'm not going to just go with the whole house, go with Wes. I'm going to think for myself and do what I think is best. And I applaud Dario for that. Underrated.
Mikey writes, Dario sold his soul to the devil only to get beat right before the final. And yeah, I mean, and it was
but he gave him a better chance.
Exactly. And I was about to say that. Like, it was the right move. I mean, it just, the issue became that who was in that elimination?
He lost to Bananas and Sarah.
No, but who won that?
Which one?
To set why was Bananas and Sarah and Dario and Nicole in that? Like, who?
It was all luck. Remember, they did
the skull. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, if you're
Dario
playing,
put himself in the best.
Yeah, you put, because in that scenario, if Dario and Nicole finished last, let's say, in the next challenge, you have a 2 out of 3 chance of going against Devin and Cheyenne. Then, you know, vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think it was the right move. It's just the fact that Bananas went in was kind of, you know,
I love the move that Dario and Nicole did. It's just easy to point holes in it, but I think all of his reasonings were valid.
Yeah. All right, Devin and Cheyenne, the luckiest team of all time.
Luckiest team of all time.
I mean, people forget they went home.
It up.
They went home week 1, and then they were safe 1 episode, and then they pulled the safe skull 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row. So,
yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that if they come back, episode 5 or 6?
Mm-hmm.
So you could make the argument that if, you know, Thomas and Simone don't quit, or Brandon and Brianna don't quit, Devin is not a challenge champion because he never comes back.
Yeah.
He goes home with episode 1. He never gets called back.
So should Devin send a check to Thomas?
Probably.
Yeah.
Or Brandon's girlfriend, who is not his girlfriend anymore. So, you know, it's crazy that we talk about how long ago this is, 7 years ago, but the things we're talking about, if something happens just slightly different, our last recap that we did is completely different.
The whole challenge community is different.
Crazy.
I mean, my question is this. Let me go this route with you. If they go home episode 1, is Ryder even born?
What? Well, you mean if they don't come back after episode 1?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Do we know if it happened?
I don't think it happened during set. No, I don't. But it gave them more time.
Oh, you think it didn't? I think it did.
Oh, you think it did?
I'm wondering if it happened episode 1 or after they came back.
I think it was after they came back.
Well, you think it was after the whole show?
No, right? I think it was after the whole show. I don't think it was during the show. Because
I
don't think she was pregnant during the reunion show.
It's a good question. I feel like the answer to that has to be known. That has to be known somewhere out there.
What do you mean?
Like, they probably talked about it on Instagram Live or something. I always thought that it happened during the show.
I don't think
close to the end. And what's her name? Cheyenne was able to just kind of get through the final.
But
I don't think she was a day pregnant.
I don't think she was. But like, I look at the reunion show and she's not pregnant.
No, but do we know the timeline of that? Like how quickly they filmed it?
I don't know.
I mean, she probably was pregnant.
I thought she could have been pregnant at the reunion show. During that's when she got pregnant, is what I'm saying.
No. Like after they were on the mountain.
Yes. I don't think she was pregnant on the mountain.
I thought it was the first official challenge baby.
I don't think it was the first baby to finish a final. I thought that was Melissa.
That was Melissa's kid.
I mean, think about this. Melissa's kid has been to more finals than some of these clowns.
God. All right.
So no. So what's the answer?
I don't know the answer. God. I'm sure somebody knows.
God, I think she was pregnant. I think what happened was, they had a good relationship after they came back on the show. After the reunion show is when they hooked up and had the kid. I mean, we could.
I just feel like they're not talking at that point. I feel like they're both going back to their normal lives.
But I think Corey hit her up once he came back home, or once she came back home. I mean, all we got to do is like.
No, we don't need to dive into this any further.
I mean, when was Cheyenne or Ryder born?
All right, who's next?
God, we're Vince and Jenna? Yeah, Vince and Jenna.
Interesting. Just a classic second place team.
I mean, they won the opening challenge, and they kind of just skated right by, and it was all because of the first place team.
They had the banana shield.
Yeah, and the thing was, if you went for that team, Bananas and Sarah was coming for you next. Like, it was the perfect shield. Yeah. And I would have been curious how many times, like, you take away Bananas from this game, how good is this team?
Yeah, and I feel like the format of the skulls benefited the Bananas and Vince alliance because it was like you could never 100% send them into elimination
unless they finish last. Yeah.
Even if one of them was last, you send in the other one, there's a 50% chance they draw the skull.
Did any of them even see an elimination besides Banana? Yeah, they didn't even see an elimination.
Yeah,
Vince and Jenna.
That's smart.
It was just the wine one with Bananas. What do you think Vinny or the Vinny Pig is up to these days?
Vinny has a kid.
Okay.
I follow him on Instagram.
Where's he living?
He's married. I want to say Michigan. Or Pennsylvania, maybe. I think he's doing good. I think I want to say I maybe DM'd him before.
Jesus.
Let's see. Yes, I did.
God, you have a few DMs with him.
Yeah, I said congrats. I'm assuming that was after the birth of his kid 5 years ago. I said, are you ever going to do another challenge? His response was, thanks, my dude. No more MTV challenges for me. On my grown man shit now. Laughing, crying emoji.
Oh.
And then I said, I feel that, man. Don't worry. Your cousin will do enough for the both of you. Laughing, crying emoji.
Oh my
and he responded with laughing, crying emoji.
That's cute. Just date him already.
So, yeah, I think Vince is doing good.
God, you're nuts.
All right. Should we wrap this up?
Yeah, well, we got one more team.
All right.
The champs. Bananas and Sarah.
Bananas and Sarah.
What else is new? Like, we all knew they were going to win from episode 1. I mean, by far the GOAT team. Like, I mean, was there really even a challenge for these guys? Like,
no.
I mean, they won 4 dailies.
What I love the most about them is that they came on hot towards the end. They didn't win until episode 6. And then they kind of took an episode off.
And then just started
And then
winning.
they just fucking took over.
I also think that was a part, like, from episode 1/2, where Bananas just kind of like was upplaying this rivalry. Like, I think he's even said it in a couple podcasts where it was like, by like episode 2, like the rivalry was kind of done. Like,
he's like, I didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't care. I just want to win. And then obviously, the whole twist and all that stuff. But King Cash writes, how does Bananas' legacy change if he doesn't I'm guessing steal that money? It's a good question. I think, he still would have the same. He might even have more rings, honestly.
That's a good point.
Because I think he was targeted so heavily right after that. But at the same time, like,
I think the way that King Cash asked the question is a good way to ask it in terms of legacy, because it's not how many rings does he have if he steals or doesn't steal. How does his legacy change? I think part of, if not the defining piece of the Bananas legacy, is to take the money and run.
Yeah, I think
so. It's like you take that out, and he's just kind of another challenge champion, and he blends in with everybody else.
You make a good point. Like, I think this move by Bananas, like Alex said, is like one of the greatest moments of all time. Like, you take that away, I think my argument, like, you could make an argument that CT's better just from that, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I think that moment has so much weight. Like, it's ridiculous how much weight.
It's not just a career-defining moment. It's a challenge-defining.
It's almost like 2 wins in one.
Yes.
Like, as bad as that sounds, it literally is. It's so impressive, and it's just like, I mean, it's just one of those moves that changed the game forever. So
it's an all-timer. It's an all-timer. We talked about it on the Bananas Legend Tour. We talked about it on. I mean, it's one of those things where we bring it up on like a random podcast recap.
I mean, I think we bring that up the most out of almost anything. But it's like one of those moments where it completely changed the game forever.
Change the game forever. I mean, it's incredible. It's just hard to put into words.
Yeah. So Mikey the Doctor writes, and he only stole like 150K while CT is winning 500K. I agree. I mean, could you imagine how much, like, if this was like $1 million every, like, these seasons now, how much more shit Bananas would have gotten?
Well, and that's why I think a good question that we talk about sometimes is like, who's stealing the money was better, Bananas or Ashley? And the case for Ashley is that it was more money. It was a lot more money. She became a millionaire.
But
Bananas, her steal doesn't. Yeah, her steal doesn't happen unless Bananas does.
Absolutely.
So,
all right. Well, we just went through the cast. We talked the format. We talked about the split the money. What else we got from this season?
The reunion was incredible.
God, the reunion
was amazing. We just kind of watched that as we were doing the pod.
Sarah flipping off.
Everybody was drunk. You could make a case.
Chalk her up.
You could make a case, and I'm not going to verify this because I don't want to verify this. You could make a case that was the last good reunion. I feel like every reunion since then is just a shit show in a bad way. Yep. This was a shit show in a fun way.
Yeah.
Everybody's drunk. They cut to the commercials, and instead of going straight to the commercials, it's like Wes on the microphone, interviewing like
Dario. They did like
and then it cuts the commercial, and like that type of shit is awesome. And it's kind of, it goes along with just how the challenge has changed over the past 7 years.
It's like they're trying to do too much now.
They're trying to make it not fun.
I mean, think about this. 2 seasons later, from this season, Dirty 30 was a live, or the reunion shows when we found out the winners.
Yes,
that's just insane.
That was embarrassing.
That
was embarrassing.
Oh, it's just terrible.
This reunion was incredible. The finale was incredible. The episode 1 was incredible. So I think that makes up for a lot of the flaws.
Yeah.
About like the bad cast and some of the other stuff.
So one thing I want to bring up, a little story time, is the reunion or the finale. Some of you might know the story of the finale, but it was one of those moments where it's got to be one of the first 3, 4, 5 seasons that we watched live together. I think at the time, like, when was this? What year was this?
2016.
So we were both in college at the time. Alex was studying abroad, actually. He was in Ireland. He was actually flying back to America the next day. His flight was in 4 or 5 hours, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And the only way he could watch the episodes was he was always on a delay. Because Ireland is obviously not showing the episodes at 2 a.m. or whatever time it was overseas. So for the finale, he wanted to watch live. So what we did, this was before, obviously pre-COVID, pre-everything, but pre-FaceTime, essentially. We literally set up a call, and I literally put my phone, or what was it, my phone?
Mm-hmm. It was FaceTime.
Oh, it was FaceTime?
Yeah.
Whatever. It was whatever FaceTime or whatever it was. And we literally Skyped each other for the entire episode. So I literally had my camera facing the screen, and we watched the finale together. That way, he was at 2 a.m. in Ireland. He was about to board his flight. And I remember the next morning, like, I went to bed, and he sent me a text message. He's like, Trev, like, I haven't gone to bed yet. Like, I'm still thinking about the decision Bananas made. Like, it was like one of the funniest text messages I've ever gotten in my life.
Look, I'll never forget that 24 hours because it was just insane. And, the whole season for Rivals 3 was in the summer.
Yeah.
I mean, we just said it was a 7-year anniversary when it started, so May. So
yeah, it ended I think, in end of July, August range.
It was beginning of August. And so I was watching when I was in Ireland, but I was watching on my laptop on MTV.com through like a VPN the next day, which
great MVP pick by me, by the way. But
at the time, we weren't doing a podcast, so there was no reason to watch it live. And so I was just watching the next day and it was fine. And then it got to the last or second to last episode. And I think it maybe the second to last episode cut to like the twist or something. Or maybe it was the one before that where it basically told us that there was going to be this twist.
Yeah.
And that somebody was going to steal the money. And so once that happened, I was like, I'm not going to be fine watching the next day. I need to watch it
live
as it's happening.
Spoilers, no anything.
But there was no way to do it. I couldn't go to a pub and watch, you throw on the challenge.
2 a.m.
You throw on the challenge
drinking a Guinness,
at 2 a.m. So yeah, it was 5 hours ahead. My flight was, I think, leaving at like 7 or 7:30 in the morning. And so I had come to the conclusion that the challenge, I think, came on at 9 here. So that was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
It was like 2 a.m. in Ireland. My flight was like at 7. So I had to leave at like 5. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to FaceTime, watch the show, and then just go to the airport. And I didn't know if it was going to be like this iconic ending or anything. Obviously it was. And so I just remember it happens. I'm watching like the shitty, staticky FaceTime, but I can see what happens. My jaw drops. I'm like, what the fuck is Bananas doing? All this. And then I can just distinctly remember getting to the airport, and I got there very early because I had to get through customs and all of that. And so I got there expecting a long line and all of that, and, just kind of preparing for the worst. That's how I am going to the airport. And I got through everything very quickly. And so I just get to my gate with like an hour to spare, and I'm not going to fall asleep. And so I just get on my phone. It's still like probably midnight overseas. Time, and so I'm like, so everybody's still kind of awake. And so I'm just going through Twitter, seeing all these tweets, all these articles are being posted. Bananas is like taking the cash on his dick and all of that. And I'm just like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I can't fall asleep, just like soaking it all in. And then I don't think I slept on the plane or anything, because when I got back,
we watched the episode. I came over right away.
We rewatched the finale, which is great for me because I had seen it, but not really seen it, and I could actually hear everything. And then we watched the reunion right after.
Yeah,
I think you had already seen it twice by then.
Yeah, I think
it was my first time seeing it at all, and it was just like I think back to like that 24-hour span, and it's just one of my favorite challenge memories ever.
Also, what he just brought up, great point, how the finale happened and the reunion was right away.
Yes. So. And I could have kept watching, but I was like, I have to pack, I have to get ready for my flight and all that. So I was like, I'm hanging up. I'll see you tomorrow, literally across the world. I'll see you tomorrow, and then we'll watch the reunion. And that's exactly what we did. It was your third time watching it. And
yes.
So I got to watch it.
I knew the words.
Finale again, see the reunion. It was amazing. That's what the challenge and being a challenge fan is all about.
Absolutely. One of those moments that I will always remember. Just like, what are we doing? Like,
it's awesome.
Just an awesome. Has Sarah ever said if she would have shared the money? Here's the thing.
She says she does, but
here's the thing. Regardless of who you are, most people in this world would say, yeah, I would have split the money. Until you're actually faced with that decision, like straight up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what you say. Like, I don't believe it. So, Mike the Doctor writes, good thing it was only 60 minutes back then. Yes, absolutely. The GOATs bring 60-minute episodes back. Anything else? Any lasting remarks from Rivals 3? Overall, I love this season. I know it was kind of like we all kind of knew who was going to win this season, but it like Rivals, X's, they're just fun seasons.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like a good, like, there's no like bullshit with like partners or anything like that. It's like, we know it. It's straightforward. Boom, go.
Yeah. I don't want people to see that we've done only one season recap and have it be Rivals 3 and be like, oh, that's their favorite season ever.
No,
it's not.
No.
But like we said from the top, we're doing it because it's the 7-year anniversary, Cinco de Mayo, it was in Mexico, all this stuff. And so I'm sure at some point we'll do a free agents recap. We'll do an X's 2 recap.
I mean, that's the question. I know King Cash, Mikey the Doctor, you guys are in the chat right now. What season do you guys want to see? And, I think the seasons that stick out to us, this season, free agents, X's 2, Ruins is a great season. Cutthroat is a very fun season. Like, what seasons do you want to see us go at? Like,
and even though Rivals 3 isn't like our favorite season, it's a good season to talk about. Yeah, it's a fun season, fun people, fun ending, fun stories.
It's a season that changed the game forever.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's an important season.
King Cash writes the Island versus Rivals 1. Are we talking or Champs vs. Bros? Get the fuck out of here. The Island versus Rivals. If we're talking Rivals 1, I think Rivals 1 is a very strong season. The thing is,
Rivals 1 is my favorite.
I think the Island is so underrated. I think it's one of those, like, you can only do it 1 or 2 seasons where it's just a different game. It really is. It's no other challenge has ever done that.
People hate the Island.
I like the Island. I think it was a fun game. It was a different, and maybe it's because it's really different. Like, it's almost like,
do it.
And here's the thing about it. Maybe it's too Survivor-esque, but like, it's good. King Cash also writes, free agents. Jesus Christ. Free agents. God damn it, Mikey. King Cash writes, free agents. Yeah, free agents to me, holy shit, that dunk was over Durant.
Teresa CT, sure basketball.
I mean, free agents is one of the best seasons. If it might be my favorite season where there's just so much going on. Look at this dunk. Holy shit. Was that Porter Jr. on? Champs vs. Pros, no. Mikey Doctor writes, Alex's favorite season, Fresh Meat. I mean, I know Alex has been saying for so many years now, he loved Fresh Meat 1, loved Fresh Meat 2. He really wants Fresh Meat 3. Like, I think that's the one. That. Like, oh, I just love that season. King Cash writes, I love the Island Bananas versus Evelyn. And then, obviously Evelyn selling her soul for the devil, getting the ring at the end. I mean, it's like a different season. And that's why I liked it. So great to hear from you guys. Anything else on tonight's episode? Battle of the Seasons was a tough
I feel good about it. I feel good about the season recap. And I think we're gonna be back for another off-season pod.
We'll be back.
Off-season pods are sporadic.
Yeah,
we pick out what we want to do when we want to do it.
Well, I really do like these season recaps. It kind of puts me in like the time machine and go back. And I almost wish we threw the reunion on, but like I almost want to set like a homework assignment up for us where maybe we do it every 2 weeks, but we have to watch the entire season just to like the last time I don't remember the last time I watched Rivals 3 all the way through. Like, I remember we talked about the first episode and the reunion and stuff like that, but like, God, like there's so much. I mean, we didn't even talk about like the 24-hour challenge overnight. Like, I mean, there's so many eliminations. I mean, like
blind soccer
with Wet. Yeah. I mean, like there's so many good moments.
And for King Cash, Mikey the Doctor, everybody else that's been in the live chat, like, we didn't have a good plan or a concrete plan for what we were going to do. We kind of figured it out as we went, tweeted it out. And so we appreciate all you guys joining in.
Absolutely. So be on the lookout for more season recaps. We still have to do our 5-year recap of STP.
That's probably the next off season.
That's probably maybe next. And then more importantly, in about 2 months from now, we got the wedding pod, which I don't know how we're going to do, if we're going to do it the old school way and just post it live on Spotify. I'm pulling out a computer during a wedding is a hot take, but I'm always open to it. So we'll get into that. So we'll see. We'll see. Last question of the night. Would Evelyn still have won if she took Banana's key? I think so. I think that team was so good.
I thought she did take Banana's key.
She did. I think would Evelyn still have won if she took Banana's key?
But she did take Banana's key. She did win.
Well, I'm thinking if Bananas didn't take What was the final move in that where Bananas got the key back?
He got it back from Dunbar?
Yes. I think maybe that's what
Or
he's
Evelyn
talking
got
about.
it back.
Adam Meadham's going to be in your 5-year who?
Who?
With that being said, thank you guys for listening to a brand new Stir the Pod. I really appreciate King Cash,
night.
Mike the Doctor joining us on this Friday night, May 6th. Crazy enough. So thank you guys. Love you guys. Shout out Duffy.